point.
Good evening. Welcome. Tuesday, February 5th. This will be the first presentation will be on our budget. And opening the meeting, I would like to ask everyone to put their cell phones on vibrate so we're not interrupted. Joanna, could you please do a roll call?
Mr. Creel?
Here.
Mr. Hare?
Here.
Mr. DeFrias? Mr. McDonald?
Here.
Mr. Flynn?
Here.
Mr. Ellis?
Here.
Mr. Buckley?
Here.
Ms. Proctor?
Here.
Mr. James? Mr. Bowman?
Here.
Ms. Chapman?
Here.
Mr. Chapman?
Here.
Mr. Metalopoulos?
Here.
Mr. Duchesne?
Here.
Ms. Fontaine? Ms. Carafellas?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Madigan? Mr. Milberg? Mr. Morgan?
Here.
Ms. Clark? And Mr. Adams? All set.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on the agenda for this meeting? Seeing none, I'm going to move right into the public hearing on the budget. I will tell you that this evening we are being taped. Thank you so much. As part of the 3 programs the committee voted to take this year. At this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Pigeon.
Thank you. Before we begin the formal presentation, I just want to let you know what you do have available to you for materials and board docs, also available to the public. The PowerPoint presentation that will be delivered tonight is loaded in there, and there is a link to the Google presentation slide. In addition, you have an electronic copy of this packet, which we will review later in the evening. And then you have the breakout charts specific to our budget and how it compares to last year's budget, the town assessments and how they break out to the towns, and the funding slide in terms of how we plan to fund the entire budget. So all of those are in there for your purview, and they are under there for public review as well. So to get started, I'm going to come over here. And again, I've been asked to use my teacher voice because, as you know, we are filming in the school committee conference room tonight, which is not retrofit properly for recording meetings, but we're going to try to make it work. So I'll try to use my teacher voice, and hopefully they'll be able to hear us. First, just want to thank the entire membership of the school committee. Putting together a full budget for the district is not an easy task, and there are many folks that are involved, including all of you that are around the table this evening. Special thanks to Budget Subcommittee, who's been here meeting after meeting after meeting, reviewing numerous documents as we build the budget from the ground up. And a special thank you to all of the folks in the back of the room, the administrative team, who worked with their staff to pull this together. This process started back in October to bring us to where we are today, and it was a team effort. It was truly a team effort. We did put in the new photo, just so you notice. I just did go. Again, just want to start with a basic overview. As you know, our mission is to provide high-quality academic and technical education to our member towns. I'd like to draw your attention to the new item in the school committee conference room. This is a project that was taken on by engineering, and they had some participation from carpentry and auto body as well. But the students designed the town map in AutoCAD and printed it and cut it and engraved it. That actually went up today. So that was a student project that's been multiple months in the making. I thought it was wonderful that it went up there tonight. And I joke that we always say we need a better map. I wish I could get that map onto my screen for next year. I think it's beautiful. So thank you to the students and the staff that did that project. Before we talk about the actual budget, I think it's always important to preface it with what's happening with our enrollment, because the budget that we build is directly connected to the enrollment that we expect in the coming year. Unfortunately, we have experienced a decline in district enrollment. This is not a unique problem to Nashoba Tech. This is actually a statewide problem that is happening everywhere. So we are down for the 3rd year in a row. District students this year down 17. We decreased 5 in school choice, which is really not a significant difference. And we increased 3 in non-resident. So that is what we're starting to see. The increase in non-resident is as a result of some of the towns that withdrew from another regional vote district, and those students are now starting to access Nashoba Tech. So I expect that that number will continue to increase in the coming years. School choice will probably remain very similar, and hopefully district enrollment will level off or start increasing again. At our next meeting, Kyla will share with you how our applications look, and we're looking good. We're looking good for next year. The chart shows you the 10-year history. So although we've seen a decline, if you look at enrollment over a longer period of time, really I think what happened is we had a peak in enrollment and now we're just leveling off. If you look at it from a 10-year perspective, it doesn't look as drastic as when you look at it from just a one-year change. In terms of how that breaks out in terms of pieces of the pie, this is important because this is actually how the assessment is driven. So you can see the change in the towns. We had some towns that had an increase. We had some towns that had a decrease. Again, this changes from year to year, and there's been no significant pattern. However, we have noticed a steady ongoing decline in a couple of our towns. Two of them that had new high schools, that was definitely a trait that we watched. We are starting to bounce back in those areas. And then there has been a charter school that expanded its offerings into high school, which we believe may have affected our Chelmsford enrollment. We had seen previous students coming from that charter school into the 9th grade. So you see the breakdown. Last year, Chelmsford had hit 30% in terms of their piece of the pie. They are back down to 29%. So Chelmsford and Pepperell continue to be our two largest towns. In terms of special populations, I feel like this is very important to point out. Again, when you build a budget based on the needs of the students for the next year. It's important to understand our special populations because even though we have less students, we have significant need. So we are nearly 40% special ed students when compared to a high school state average of 17%. So that is a significant difference. So we may have less students, but there is more need. And I do think that's important when you're talking about a budget. We are also at 51.1% of students with high needs. Economic disadvantage is also climbing. To hear more about the student aspect of the budget and what's happening at the school level, Matt will come up and give his portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Pigeon. So Dr. Pigeon asked me to come up here and talk a little about what it's like to be a student here at Nashoba Tech. I think I have a very unique perspective on that, seeing how just a few years ago I was also a student here at Nashoba Tech. Very handsome, I must say. But as I joke around with my family about it, I've spent 67% of my life here. I'm 42 years old. I've been a principal. I've been working here for 18 years and 4 years as a student. That's a pretty good chunk of time. So I feel, like Mr. Ellis had mentioned when he spoke on last Thursday, many of our graduates stay around the area. They don't venture off too far. And I definitely feel the same way. And the kids I went to school with, most of them are still in the area. A lot of them are practicing their trades that they learned here and being very successful in raising their families. So I want to start off by saying what's the same about our school as it is to every other school in our district. We offer AP courses. We challenge kids in those courses. We offer honors level courses. We have a new thing called Concurrent Enrollment with partnered with Middlesex Community College. Ms. White has done a great job of having our students have the opportunity to earn between 12 and 21 credits during their time here at Nashoba Tech without leaving the building. This is all done in our classrooms with our instructors without leaving here. So we're giving them a leg up, regardless of what if they go on dual enrollment or not, they have a leg up on everybody else. We do offer dual enrollment, and we have a nice group of kids that every year take part in this, and for the last few years, we've had kids, sometimes more than one, graduate with their associate's degree before they even get their high school diploma. And speaking of the special population that Dr. Pigeon mentioned earlier, we offer inclusion in special classes as well. Now to what makes us a little bit different. So our students come here and they have the choice between 20 state-of-the-art programs that are taught by not only professionals in their field, but licensed Chapter 74 certified instructors to give them all the knowledge they need to be successful in that field. Once again, state-of-the-art facilities. They walk out of here with industry credentials to give them a leg up on anybody else who's going out into the workforce at their age level. We offer articulation agreements with many universities and colleges for our kids throughout our programs, which once again, all will give the kids a little bit of an advantage by coming here. And our programs are driven by an advisory committee. Each program has their own advisory committee that comes in, meets twice a year as full groups, and gives them recommendations to where the field is going in that area. So you have the outside people. We're not just talking about teachers that have been teaching for 20 years and not in industry. Industry comes into us as well as college, the unions, they all come in and they talk about what our students need to be successful and make it out there in the world. These are a list of our 20 programs, and as you see, 20 programs for a school of 700 kids plus is a good amount. We offer all kinds of opportunities for our students to be successful. As advanced manufacturing jobs, we turn them away. There's so many jobs in that field. As you know from if you look at the labor board market, you know what kind of jobs are out there, and our programs here are geared towards those jobs that are out there. And we also take the opportunity to use these programs and enhance our communities that send their kids to us. We go and do different electrical will do some jobs, engineering does jobs, health assisting does volunteer work. Hospitality, as you know, they serve food to all kinds of different places in our district. Carpentry, the list goes on and on what these programs can do for our community. So our kids get that real world experience while learning as well. Cooperative placement is a huge thing for us. So this gives our kids halfway through the junior year. I just signed out 6 kids today, juniors, that start next week. This is their first time being eligible to go out. And right now, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our number is over, well, without those 6 juniors, is over 50 kids out right now for seniors on co-op. With a class of 100, when 50 of them are out every other week working, that's tremendous. And that number is growing every year. So with 6 going out next week already, I bet by Friday, I have more than that. Paul and Ms. Poole are working hard on getting these kids, these employers vetted and the students ready to go out. This gives our kids real life training on the job, and they're making money while they're doing it. And these kids, some of them make a pretty good salary, I gotta tell you. It's pretty impressive out there. It also helps us build relationships with our local businesses, because those are what kind of drive those advisory committees we talk about, and that's what keeps our school alive and going. A couple partnerships I know is a lot more. These are the ones off the top of my head I can think about that we work with very closely. MSPCA Angel, they have their facility right here in our building, and they are booming. They open up even on those Monday holidays that we're not here. They're here, and that place is always, we have a couple of cameras around, and you can see the activity. It's always crowded. They had to put a second full-time doctor on just to keep up with demand. Bridges, we all know next door. They were our partner of the year last year with us. We send our health assistant kids over there. Our Cosmo students help them out. Hospitality work with them. They come over here and work with our early childhood students and our early childhood kids over there and do some cross-generational reading and activities with them. The partnerships go on. Carpentry made them chicken coops. Emerson Hospital, new this year, you guys all know, we have a great opportunity to have a full-time trainer in our building to work with our kids. And that Emerson partnership is only going to grow as time goes on. Habitat for Humanity has been a big the last couple of years. We just got back into this. We're in our second year of a house build in Westford. 2 houses, 2 years ago. I believe there's 2 or 3 more. Paul, if I'm wrong, tell me. On the horizon for Habitat in this town of Westford, which is unbelievable. And of course, Level 5, who has their branch operating in our building today. Some of our extracurriculars that we have, and some of these you look at, they're just more of ways for kids to get involved and be social, like the ski club and things like that. Then you have competition type stuff where you have robotics and mock trial and DECA and Skills USA. I head out, this little secret here, I head out next week with culinary. They got to compete at Gillette Stadium at Patriots Place. There's I think there's 14 schools competing. It's called the Pro Start. It's kind of like a mystery basket type thing where they kind of go out and they compete against other schools, and it's going to be wonderful. I'll come back. You watch me on Twitter. You'll see all kinds of cool stuff in there. So these are some of the clubs we have, much like other schools, mentoring programs. Of course, our theater group, which is tremendous. The performances are unbelievable. I look forward to those every year, as well as many people in this room. I know I see you guys there. And of course, our sports life, we do real well with our sports. We offer 3 seasons, 18 varsity programs. This promotes physical and emotional health for our kids. Participation is really high. We have no user fees, you know that. We have a no-cut policy, so all kids can be part of something. We also, because our facilities are so gorgeous, we let other schools that are in tough situations come and borrow our fields while theirs are getting redone. Such as Middlesex this past year had their football home games here. They had a few soccer games here as well for their homecoming and for their senior nights. Westford Academy utilized our football field. We also take advantage of that. Chelmsford let us use their gymnasium in a pinch last year. We had a little problem in our gym. So the phrase we use is we play nice in the sandbox, because it's all about the kids and making the kids have the ability to utilize the appropriate things and be successful in what they do. I did have a couple students last Thursday who kind of shared. You guys know these students real well. Maybe they'll have a chance to share when they get here today. but they'll be here at 7 for our regular meeting. I don't want to drag them any earlier. But these two students, you know, are very successful, doing real well here in Nashoba Tech, and we're very proud of them. And I was telling the story last Thursday, in my old role, I work with kids all the time. Sometimes it has to be too much. But for the most part, that's what I was based on. My identity was all about working with kids, and in my new role, it's a little bit different. I say new role, it's been 3 years now, but I'll say new role for a long time. But it's a little different, but I get to sit down with these kids at least once a month, usually more like twice a month, and Jeremy and I, we sit down and they'll sit there and chat with us forever. They don't want to go back to class. They love talking to us. I gotta be honest, I value that time because I don't get a ton of it. So I appreciate that. I appreciate what they've shown me this year. So with that said, I think next up we have Ms. Callahan to talk a little bit about the admissions process.
I didn't bring my big boy voice today. So hi everyone, I'm used to seeing you guys every week, but just to kind of give kind of a recap of things that we talk about. And one of the hats that I wear down in the guidance office is the admissions coordinator, which contains a lot of different things. So when we had everybody, all the town administrators the other day, we kind of explained from our perspective, we offer wonderful things here, but how do we let your district towns know about that? So we talked a little bit about the things that we do. We do our 8th grade visits, which have been consistent and huge every year. One of the pinpoints this year I think that we focused on was the number from Chelmsford was close to 175 kids out of the 2 schools that came, which is the largest number we've seen from that town in particular. And to be honest with you, the applications reflect that this year, which I think is huge, and I think that speaks a lot to how important those visits are. Kids want to come in and see the building, and I think that wins a lot of them over. So, and that being said, a lot more parents are being persuasive and helping and advocating for the kids coming over, and the people in the schools are doing the same thing. So our numbers were up in the fall for the visits, and our numbers are up in applications, and I do think there's a correlation there. The fall and spring open house, as you all know, the first Sunday in November has always been our open house. It's a 3-hour event where we have the entire staff here, students on hand. We host anywhere between 350 and 700 people. We talked about a couple years ago, there was an ice storm where people were going to the Pheasant Lane Mall to shower, but that didn't drop our numbers here. So if that gives you any indication about how dedicated people are and how badly they want to see what we do here, I think that's huge. I've also started offering monthly tours. So we have people that call, obviously, if somebody calls in December, I'm not going to tell them, yeah, the building will be open again in May, see you then. We really want to get them in and get them to see what's going on. So one Wednesday a month I stay and do tours with as many people as sign up for that opportunity. Last week I had 5 families, which was here, and it's good. It's usually a smaller group, families that want to ask more specific questions. I tend to get a little verbose. There's a lot to talk about here, and I forget that it's hard to squeeze as fast as I can talk. It's hard to squeeze all that to an hour and 15 minutes. So I was here with a family until about 5:15 last week, just kind of going over, speaking specifically about their student, asking questions, and it tends to be very positive. Actually, this week we got feedback from one of our Facebook posts that Ann Hadley had shared it on Facebook that there are monthly tours, and one family wrote back that they had an excellent experience on the tour. So I think that was really important. That's building that one-to-one family connection, because that person made one comment on Facebook, but thousands of people saw it, and that's really, really important. We also offer the after-school mini Exploratory, which is a free program available to all of our district's 7th and 8th graders. We bus the students here after school for 2 days a week, both in October and then again in March, and they rotate through a different technical program every time they're here. We've actually had the opportunity for academic teachers who want to get involved, so I have a few options for teachers that are looking to get. We've had science teachers run labs, we've had music classes, different things like that the academic teachers can get involved and get creative as well. So we've run that for the last couple of years, or the last quite a few years actually. And those are the big things that we do in addition to my presentations out to the 8th graders. So those are really kind of the big ticket items that we do when it comes to recruitment within the district. They seem to be working. We recognize that we can't go out in September and October and then not see these kids again until March, so we try to run either monthly programs or connect with them somehow, or just again establishing those relationships and getting those people excited, because once they apply, that's great. Now we want to keep them until they're accepted. Now we want to keep them until they walk through the door, and building that relationship is huge. So that's one of the things that we focus on. As far as the application process, we have switched over to the online system that seems to be very, very successful. I can tell you in the last couple of years, I think this is the 3rd solid year that we've been using it, and I think I've gotten 4 paper applications. That is still an option. Obviously, there are families out there that can't do the online thing, so we do take that. I want to say it was quite a few 2 years ago. It was probably about 20 paper applications last year, and I have about 4 this year. So it's definitely working. I also have the number of applications increasing, so I think access to the application has been made that much better through the online process. It also, I think, is helping the rolling admission. So I was talking to the admin team today. I currently have 17 students that want to get into Nashoba Tech right now that are 9th and 10th graders that are looking to transfer. So that's fantastic. In addition to the increased numbers that we have in 8th grade applications, we have kids that have now either given their time at a different regional or a different district school and thought, you know what, this isn't what I want, or come across some career that they really want to focus on and are now looking to come to us. So some of them are kids that applied and changed their mind back in the fall, which is always something we contend with, but a lot of them are brand new applicants. So, you know, whatever we're doing in terms of marketing and recruitment and outreach, I think it's working, and not just on that 8th grade level. We tend to forget that kids can enroll here up through the first trimester of their junior year, and that's a good way to do it. We would love to pull in 30 transfer kids every year. That would be the ideal goal. So the rolling admissions and the online process are all really, really important. One of the things I spoke to the town administrators about last week was one of the ways that we think that we can support is that right now, Westford is the only town that sends every single one of their 8th graders to visit us. So everybody does it. They pile 500 kids on buses and they send them over here. We would love to have every single town in the district do that. A lot of these kids, they don't know what they're missing if they don't get to come see it. So one of the ways that we ask anybody in the towns to help support is to push for that. It's, you know, if a kid's sold on going to a district high school, they're going to be sold on that high school. So what does it hurt to have them come over and see what we do? It's just a good opportunity. So if there's anything you can do to support, we would really appreciate that. Thank you.
So again, when we're talking about a budget, I think it's really important to understand what that budget is funding, and Matt's presentation and Kyla's presentation just gives you a glimpse at the work that's being done here on a daily basis. A budget is not just a bunch of numbers, it means something, it's connected to who we are and what we do in our mission. So I hope that helped to give you a bit of a broad overview. Bringing it up to an even higher level, it's also important to look backwards and say, did our budget produce what we were hoping that it would produce? And taking a look at our accountability data and backtracking, we continue to have attendance rates that are above the state average. Our students come here and they want to come to school, so that's a really good sign. We have graduation rates well above the state average, a very low dropout rate, which has been a historical, something that we've been proud of here at Nashoba Tech, and 100% of our students complete Mass Core requirements. This was a change that we made probably going back close to 15 years ago at this point, where we knew that it was important not only to have rigorous technical education, but also to have rigorous academic education, and we're proud to be at 100%. We also follow very closely where our graduates go after they leave here. Technical schools, it is unique that we are required to do a follow-up study 1 year out from graduation to see did the students really do what they said they were going to do. And again, historically, our positive placement rates are very high. Our students are doing very well after graduation. They're either employed in their field, they're enrolled in post-secondary education, sometimes they're in the military, and sometimes they're doing a combination of those things, but whatever it may be placed. We've had a lot of good news over the last couple of years that has helped us to control costs and to continue to meet our goals. This group knows really well how excited we've been to have $1.5 million in workforce skills capital grants come through the doors over the course of 3 years. We're right now in the process of implementing the 3rd grant, which is in dental and health. We also, through the hard work of Carol, Dr. Heidenrich, received a Wi-Fi grant last year, and we're able to redo the Wi-Fi in our entire building. So again, these are all competitive grants. These are not things that would just naturally come to the school. We had to work hard for them. We had to put our minds together and put applications together, oftentimes do extra work, but it was worth it. It was very well worth it. We also like to talk around budget time about how we give back to the towns, and one way that we do that is through our community service projects, and Matt shared with you quite a few. Here are some photos. This is some of the work they've been doing at the Habitat House. To give you a recap of recent capital projects, last year our year-long internal project working on revitalizing our technical programs was focused on the old upholstery space, which you know had been storage for quite some time, which we were able to empty out and refinish into a new grooming area for vet tech, a new pet area, and a classroom space. And again, this group, again, well aware of what we're doing in terms of facilities, rather than working each year trying to figure out what's broken and what needs to be fixed. We decided we needed to get ahead of it, and we did contract with DRA, and we are in the final stages of a full facilities assessment. We have learned some new things, which we've been discussing month after month, such as the sprinkler system, which we'll have an update on soon. But this is helping us put a plan together so that we can control costs and make sure that we are funding the most important projects first in terms of keeping this facility up to where it needs to be. In FY20, we did level fund the capital project budget at $225. So some of that is server replacements that Carol needs to replace in the department. We have some safety upgrades that we've set aside, which will be likely used for the recommendations that will come out of the safety audit that we are doing with the town of Westford, which we spoke about last month. And flooring and painting, as we continue around the building, we'll be targeting areas where the flooring is starting to pop up. Here is a breakdown of the budget by fund code. Actually, Carol, I'm going to ask you to bring up the other slide for just a minute. And you have this in your books as well. It might be a little hard to read on the screen, so my apologies. But we always show you the high level of budget. This is budget by function code, and it shows you last year's budget, this year's budget, and the difference. We worked really hard this year to keep our budget increase at 2.55%. In order to make that happen, we did have to make some cuts. We also had some goals that we knew we needed to implement, which again required that we had to be very careful in our thinking. So the major differences that you do see in this budget, there are some drivers that you just can't always control every cost. We have increases in transportation that are contractual. We have no choice. We have increases in contractual obligations and salaries we had to implement. Insurance costs are going up, significant increase in our Middlesex County retirement required increase. We also knew that we wanted to go after some of the goals in our district strategy. For example, for 2 years, we've been talking about adding some additional support for social emotional health of students. We can't wait any longer. So we have added it into the budget at part-time to bring on some social work help. In order to make this happen, this budget is a reflection of 3 less positions, just to make you aware. And again, the total breakdown, 2.55% of the budget. Down here on the bottom, I just want to bring this to your attention. This is just a breakout of classroom teachers. So you can see how we've controlled this cost at 1.1%. That is the only difference. Where it's important to note here is the last couple of years we've been funding our budget using more and more school choice funding. So 2 years ago it was over $800,000 from school choice to balance the budget. Last year it was $1.4 million to balance the budget from school choice. That is something that cannot continue. We don't have that kind of school choice to continue in that realm. So over the course of the next couple of years, we're going to have to close that gap through town assessments and through critical thinking of the budget. And it will all be based on enrollment in terms of what happens with our enrollment moving forward. Carol, back to the slideshow. So again, going back, just to show you the school choice numbers. So this is FY18, $825,765 from FY18 in order to meet the budget from school choice, increased up to just over $1.4 million. And this year, with the 2.5% increase overall on our budget, we are still having to put in over $1 million of school choice to balance this particular budget. So again, it's a trend that we really need to be thinking critically about and working hard on. We'll probably be starting these discussions for next year's budget even sooner than October. Once the budget is set, it then goes into a formula. It breaks down in terms of how it goes out for town assessments. As you know, at our budget workshop last week, we discussed this in great detail. So you see how this breaks out to the towns. Some towns are seeing slight increases, some towns have a little bit higher increases, and again, it is driven by enrollment. We can go back and talk about this more at the end if you have questions, but we did talk about it at length last week. And then the funding sources and the breakdown of the budget. So you see the funding that's coming from minimum contribution. We did see an increase in the minimum contribution based on the changes to the Chapter 70. Additional offset costs, there's the capital and the transportation. And again, down here, what we're anticipating for reimbursement for transportation reimbursement, which as you know in the governor's budget was level funded, which means typically less money to the schools. It's the same amount of money being spread further. That is a moving target over the next couple of months, as you know. We'll be advocating for that in the coming weeks. Chapter 70. and then our anticipated E&D, and then the makeup of the budget. We always talk about OPEB and stabilization whenever budget season comes around. Just to remind you, our OPEB liability is just over 13 million. When our auditor was here and when our treasurer was here at the November meeting, we did talk about this at great length. Our balance in June was just over 750,000. Funding this year was tough, knowing that we're putting in $1 million from school choice. It was a tough discussion that Budget Subcommittee did have in terms of this recommendation. Thinking outside of the box, we're proposing that we fund OPEB this year at 90,000 through unanticipated revenues, essentially. So what we think we'll get from our Medicaid reimbursements and our other interest income, that's the proposal that we put forward this year. In terms of stabilization, which I don't have a slide on this year, we've actually hit our goal, so that's good news. For many years, we've been working on putting a little bit aside each year to hit our goal of 8 to 10% of our overall budget being in a stabilization account. We've hit that goal, so the proposal this year, the recommendation this year is not to fund stabilization. This year, in addition to our budget warrant article in our towns, we will also have a second warrant article in our towns for our MSBA accelerated repair project, and Jean is going to actually speak to you for a few minutes about that.
Hi everyone, how are you? So back last February, we submitted a statement of interest to the Mass School Building Authority, and we would like to replace sections of our roof that are more than 20 years old, which is across the front of the building and down the two wings of a large U shape. And at the same time, they're going to do cal wall windows, which are the windows above the garage doors and the technical program areas. The windows there, they're like the glass block windows. They have actually no efficiency at all because there's no R factor in them. And also we're hoping that they're going to reduce some of that cost. I guess the newer versions are more energy efficient. At the same time, when they take off the current rooftop units, we'll replace them with some new units because a lot of our budget going forward for the next few years, we're going to try and do one at a time. It just was not going to work out for us. So they're going to take down the old and they'll replace them with the new, but the MSBA will cover the cost of taking them down and reinstalling them, but they will not cover the cost of the actual unit. We're going to go ahead and take that out of the budget ourselves. We were fortunate enough to get a 55% reimbursement rate, so all the work that is MSBA approved, they will cover 55% of. When we go to our town meetings, they'll be voting the full $3.7 million number. Some of that will be ours, maybe 400,000 of it will come out of the district, and the rest of it will be reimbursable at the 55%. And so we were accepted into the project back on June 27th, and they assigned us an OPM, which is an owner project manager, and they also assigned us an architect. That's how they saved their money. They screen all those people and they assign the people rather than you go out finding your own. So we begin to meet our meetings with them. They prepared the schematic to design and they submitted to MSBA. And they went ahead and they were approved it. We're still working back and forth. We finally think we've come to a finalized agreement, and Denise and I will be going in on February 13th for their meeting when they give us the final approval. Now we expect it'll be completed over the summer, and the towns will see this money on their FY21 budgets when they'll start to see the increase in the assessment, the change in the assessment in their debt. Because right now we have the roof project that we finished back in 2013, and the old debt which will come up in 2026. So we're hoping that we're going to kind of keep things rolling and it won't be too much of an impact on any one town. No, I've got to Denise, unless you...
And I know that we have shown the video previously with the sections of the roof from the drone project that the students had filmed. Carol, just because this is a meeting that's being taped to the public, do you want to show the video quickly? It's about 15 seconds long. So you can see one section of the roof that would be replaced with this project. So again, it's three sections of the building. So running from Auto Tech up here to Student Services, from Student Services right along the front of the building, not the engineering wing because that is a new wing that does have the newer roof on it. So it stops right before the engineering wing, and then it heads down the construction wing down to auto body. We'll show you just one clip. You can show this one here. This is just one of those three sections, but they're all fairly similar. As you know, a good chunk of these do have the solar panels on them, which we've discussed at length. We need to set it to some sort of music, I think. Just to get an idea. So these are newer roofs from the last project that was done.
Yeah.
These would be the sections that would be replaced. This is heading over all of our construction trades. We have had issues with roof leaking, especially when we have driving rain. And you get a taste of it.
So is that all solar panels right now?
It is.
So they have to take them off and put them
Yes,
back on?
they do. Yes, they do. So that is worked into the project. So one bank of those solar panels we own, one bank is through a third-party vendor. That's all been worked into the MSBA project, and yes, we've discussed it at
That's
length.
a good job.
And then again, new roof. You see the new roof at the
Yeah.
tail end. In terms of the presentation on the budget, again, I just want to say it's been many, many, many months in the making. All the folks in this room, all of the staff have been involved, and I've appreciated everybody's hard work to pull this together. I'd actually ask if Mr. Ellis has any final words he'd like to share before we close the presentation on the public hearing on the budget.
Fun document, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions before we continue? Yes.
Dr. Pigeon, going back to enrollment,
Yes.
seeing that we've had a 3-year downward trend, hopefully it's going to swing up statewide. But if this continues for another couple of years, is one of our options looking at expanding the district, maybe bringing another town? That would also help with our budget process and the town assessments.
I can tell you that I heard this board a couple of years ago, pretty loud and clear, that you would be willing and open to discuss that. It would be something at the purview of the committee, but what I can share with you is that the towns that do not belong to a regional vocational school, if they do not belong to a regional voc and they have reached out to us, we have been very good at responding. And in fact, Kyla has gone out to a few of the towns that don't belong to a regional voc and presented at their middle schools. We brought students over for tours, and as you can see, our tuition students are climbing. So I would think that the answer would be yes, we'd be willing to explore it, but that would certainly be the purview of the board.
If there's no other questions, I'd like to close the public presentation so that we can adjourn and go into our school committee meeting. Motion?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Before we start the next meeting, do we need to take a short 2 or 3 minute break, or are we all set?
Yeah.
We're going to recess for 5 minutes. Yes.
It's because it's warm up.
I'd like to reconvene the meeting. Because we are going into our regular scheduled meeting, we've had some additions. I'd like to have Joanna do the roll call again, please.
Mr. Frail?
Here.
Mr. Ayer?
Here.
Mr. DeFreitas? Mr. McDonald?
Here.
Mr. Flynn?
Here.
Mr. Ellis?
Here.
Mr. Buckley?
Here.
Mr. Proctor?
Here.
Mr. Tang? Mr. Fulmer?
Here.
Mr. Chapman?
Here.
Mr. Chapman?
Here.
Mr. Metalopoulos?
Here.
Mr. Duchesne?
Here.
Ms. Fontaine? Ms. Carabellis?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Madigan? Mr. Melber? Mr. Morgan?
Here.
Ms. Clark? And Mr. Adam? Also.
Thank you. Is there any public comments on this evening's posted agenda? Seeing none, I'll move into students, employees, and athletes of the month.
So we have one of our students here, and we're fortunate enough to have our employee here too. So we just first play the video of the students, and I will talk a little bit. And she has her speech ready to go as well.
Yeah.
I'm Sarah Simkopoulos. I am in TV Media and Theater Arts. My parents' names are Sandy Coppinger, Marty Coppinger, and James Simkopoulos. My plans for after graduation are to go to Framingham State University. I am a high honor roll student. I am enrolled in National Honor Society and National Technical Honor Society. In October, I did a fundraiser for breast cancer awareness called Pink Week.
My name is Benjamin Green. I am from Charleston, Mass. I'm in carpentry. My parents' names are Philip Green and Kelly Green. I play lacrosse and hockey here. My plans for I'm going to go to college and hopefully play lacrosse. For my Eagle project, I had a plan, get it approved. I built a shed for the school. And now I have to do paperwork.
So we're lucky enough to have Sarah with us tonight. So Sarah, you want to sit up and just introduce who you have with you tonight?
Hi, I'm Sarah Simopoulos. I'm here with my mom, Sandy Coppinger, and my stepdad, Marty Coppinger.
And one thing that everyone loves to hear, a couple things like, what made you choose Nashoba Tech?
So personally, I find I'm more of a hands-on person, and I found with Nashoba, it's very hands-on rather than just academics. I'm allowed to do something I love, which is media on one week, and then while still focusing on academics the other week.
Well, so you've done very well here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's the amount? Keep holding my sweaty hand. So Ben was unable to make it tonight. He was all planning for his parents. Just sent me a message a few minutes ago. And a few of us know the Greens really well. And Ben approached Paul and myself, we'll say back 6 months ago probably, and talked about an Eagle Scout project. And I get really excited when it comes to Eagle Scout projects. We've gotten beautiful dugouts from Eagle Scout project, a nice patio for Eagle Scout projects, and we had my mind has all kinds of ideas for these things. I have a couple in the back of the head when something does come forward. Our first instinct with Ben was to do a walkway to bridges. I've been around school, as you heard earlier, for a long time. I went down and looked at this path I thought we'd do between. I'm thinking wheelchairs, and it was a pretty steep terrain, so I said, that's not going to work. So came up with this shed idea that kind of tucks behind the bleachers. It's great for storage. Mr. Creed will benefit from that in the athletic department. So always great to have Eagle Scout projects. And yes, Ben has some more paperwork to do. I have to sign some things for him. But his project is complete. When the weather's a little better, you guys take a walk out there. It's right behind the bleachers, and it looks wonderful. So, and Ben's always active. He's very into volunteering and stuff too. He's a great kid. So on behalf of Ben Green, I'll accept that for him. And next, for our employee of the month, we're very lucky tonight. So to get him here, we got to have him go to work for us here. So I'm going to have Carol, who I think has been her supervisor since the day she started here. So I'll have Carol talk a little bit about our wonderful employee of the month.
Well, first of all, it's my pleasure to announce Emily Smith being nominated for Employee of the Month.
You want to swap roles? I'll go back there. Sarah can do that probably.
3 students actually came forward and recommended Mrs. Smith, so I was more than happy to follow through on their recommendation. I've known Mrs. Smith for 12 years, as she's been a teacher, and she's had many successes over the years, but I think the most important part is to recognize what her students are saying about her. Emily Hogan says, throughout my 4 years at Nashoba Tech, Mrs. Smith has influenced and shaped me for the better. Her extensive knowledge of her field, coupled with playful humor, leads to myself and my classmates becoming engaged in all of our lessons. Thanks to her, I feel prepared for college and for a future career. Caitlin McMaster, because of her, I know I want to do something in theater for the rest of my life. She's not only an incredible director, but an incredible teacher. I love going to school, and I look forward to learning when I'm in shop. I feel I am understood and appreciated, as well as supported by my endeavors. And Abigail Poor, she has been highly influential in my life and one of the most amazing teachers I have ever had. I came from a small Catholic school where I was with the same 53 kids my entire childhood. I was overwhelmed by the sheer size of the school, having no friends and having no clue of what shop I wanted to take. I joined the theater company after school on a whim and immediately found my place. It is because of her I have grown to know what I want to do in the future and have the necessary means to get there. Congratulations.
That's all we have tonight, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to move into our student representatives report.
Hi, everyone. We have quite the report, so we're going to be here a little while. So, for recent events, on Thursday, January 31st, we had the former Fresno State and Celtics player, Chris Herron. He spoke at Westford Academy about his former struggles with addiction and how he overcame drug use. He presented at Westford Academy, but we were able to tune in and stream his presentation throughout our entire school, so every grade got to watch it and benefit from it. And a lot of students said that they were really impacted by his story and what he's overcome, and they really appreciated his determination to become sober for as long as he has.
We have a couple things at upcoming events. So the Friends of Nashoba will be having a meeting on Wednesday, February 13th. There are only 3 more schools left to be interviewed for the incoming class of 2023, including Hawthorne Brook, Littleton, and Ayrshire. These interviews will be completed by February 12th. February vacation will be from February 18th to the 22nd. February is Children's Dental Month, and the dental assistant students are coordinating times and dates to visit preschools in the area to raise awareness about the importance of oral health. Students created a planning guide to help kids learn about health and smiles by preparing fun activities and to be interactive with the students. A trivia night scholarship drive that will benefit the class of 2019 will be taking place on March 1st at the Chelmsford Elks, beginning at 7:30. The Nashoba Career Technical Institute announced its winter class offerings the night classes at Nashoba Tech, and the courses include construction supervision lessons, floor design, and cake decorating for beginners. Term 2 will be ending on March 15th, 2019. There will be a community service event for students on March 9th at the Rodebush Community Center in Westbury to volunteer at their reopening event. And in May, there will be an annual Bridges Senior Prom, and the sophomores and health assisting are working hard to decide a theme.
So for athletics, sadly, winter sports are coming to an end. So girls basketball ends their season this Thursday. They're playing at Sizer at 5:30 and 7. They won their senior night game, and now we're hoping to end the season with a win. Boys basketball recently won against Presentation of Mary, and then they won tonight 44-12 against Fellowship Christian Academy. Wrestling is having another good year. They keep gaining members and popularity among the school, and they wrestled tonight at 6:30. For clubs, the Gay Straight Alliance recently took a field trip to a regional GSA meeting. They watched the movie Love, Simon and plan to discuss it at their next meeting. They're speaking about conducting another school-wide day of silence like they've done in years past. The junior class in DECA are putting together a talent show scheduled for March 20th, and they came up with the name Nashoba's Got Talent. And a Massachusetts DECA District 5 conference happened on January 9th at UMass Lowell. From our school, 20 students attended, 14 of them placed in the top 10 in different categories. 6 students advanced to the DECA State based on their role play performance. 4 students will be in the quiz bowl at state, and 1 student entered for the Massachusetts DECA Geofilter Lens, which that category, the winner is still waiting to be announced. Yes.
So the second AP English session took place on January 26th with almost 98% attendance rate. Midterms began on January 21st for freshmen and juniors and ended on February 1st for sophomores and seniors. Guidance counselors have visited classrooms to discuss how to apply for scholarships for college, and the deadline to turn the form in was Friday, February 1st. In shops, our design and visual communication shop has been working very closely with the Department of Education and Secondary Education to prepare an upcoming marketing campaign. 6 students went to DESC headquarters to give their input. Senior Adam Kabasi, Nate, can't say his last name, sorry about that. Both of Chelmsford, and juniors Jill Grady of Chelmsford and Brianna Guthiel of Littleton Channing Kendall of Townsend, and Alyssa Mayer of Pepperell. In graphics, 2 sophomores were selected as finalists for the Chelmsford Farmers Market contest to redesign their logo. Kira Sheehy and Macy Mayer were finalists, and Macy was the overall winner. Dental assisting students attended a Yankee dental contest at the Boston Convention Center. The students were exposed to real-life working environments and introduced them to all of the dental industry.
And lastly, for community involvement, the sophomore class has been really active with their fundraising efforts. They have already sold popcorn, had a clothing drive, and are planning a dance for March 29th, which is going to be called the Thaw, which I think is so funny. And that's all going to benefit them their senior year when it comes to senior week and trips and things like that. And that's the end of our report. So congrats to the Patriots. And I hope everyone watched the parade. And we'll see you next month.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Chairman's prerogative.
What?
That's part of the rules. I can't dismiss you yet.
Not yet, you must say.
Last Thursday, I had the honor of representing the committee at our town officials breakfast. And graciously, Dr. Pigeon let me speak my part before Mr. Ricard got up to do his part. And I do appreciate that. But one of the stellar moments, and I want to share this with everybody in the room, was when our 2 student representatives to the school committee stood tall for us. Talked about their experiences, where they want to go, what it means to be part of the Nashoba Tech community. And the comments from the town officials that I was sitting with was phenomenal. Wow, you guys really have it together. Well, I think sometimes we think we have it together, but you really have it together. So thank you so much. Now you finished.
Now we can say we'll see everyone next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Just finish the read. Thank you.
We're going to move into the consent agenda. Mr. Donald Air.
I got it by accident.
He's got it. Secretary to the school committee.
I move to approve the reports of the warrant subcommittee held since our last meeting. Accounts payable warrants in the amount of $608,887.86, and payroll warrants in the amount of $992,346.48 for a total amount of $1,601,234.34.
The report of the warrant subcommittee has been given. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept the warrants as stated.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you, Donnie. I'd like to move into the action items.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of the January 29th, 2019 special school committee meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Sandy,
Abstain.
did you get that, Joanne?
That was Maria. Okay.
Thank you.
I move to approve the minutes of the January 8th, 2019 school committee meeting.
Second.
We have a second. Everyone had a chance to review those? Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain.
And 2 abstentions. Thank you.
I move to approve the appointment of Andrew McLean, Pepperell Town Administrator, as OPEB trustee.
Motion made.
Second that.
Seconded. Mr. McLean, would you like to stand and present yourself, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. As you just announced, I'm the TA in Pepperell, and I'd like to say two quick things. One is I was also at that meeting that the chairman just mentioned and saw firsthand the students' presentations. I then approached the principal and the superintendent and asked to have senior projects that they were talking about presented to our staff and within our town. So we're going to make those arrangements over the spring and find some projects that are appropriate, but I was very impressed with what I saw. I know that there's a lot of great things happening in vocational ed, but seeing it firsthand really makes a difference. So I'll be bringing that message back to Pepperell. The second thing is the opportunity to work with you on your OPEB. It's a challenge we all face. Towns and schools have lots of fiscal challenges. This is a big one. And I think you're probably already aware it's directly tied to health insurance. And so I'd like to see us attacking the OPEB challenge by also addressing the health insurance challenge in your operating budget. Those two things are tied together pretty much in perpetuity. But if we can grapple with each of them and grapple with both of them, we'll get ahead of them. So I thank you for appointing me. If you so choose.
Motion's been made and seconded. Rob?
So did someone resign? Or is that just the order? I couldn't figure that.
So there was an interim town administrator in Pepperell, and
Okay.
the interim has now been replaced with a full-time town administrator. Historically, we've invited the town managers from our two largest districts to serve on the trust.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Is Paul still on it?
Yes,
Yes,
he
Paul
is.
Cohen is still on the trust.
I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Welcome aboard. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you, likewise.
I move to approve the FY20 preliminary total expense budget in the amount of $14,952,848, of which $13,893,409 will be funded through the general fund, and $1,059,439 to be funded from the school choice fund. The district treasurer is hereby directed to certify the preliminary assessment to the towns, the total of $9,427,444.
Second that.
Thank you, Al. Motion's been made and seconded. Lawrence?
Mr. Chairman, have there been any changes to this since we had our workshop last week, or any significant changes?
No, the budget that you see presented here today was the budget as discussed at the end of our workshop at our last meeting.
That was the sense I got. Thank you both.
I'd like to also add that the way the motion is worded tonight is a direct edict from the Department of Revenue. It keeps us in line with their new financial and fiscal accounting process. It's been a little bit of a bump in the road for us, but this year we'll be on top of it. So, any other comments or concerns? Is everyone up on their roll call? We'll do a roll call vote on this.
Has everyone joined the meeting on?
Has everyone joined the meeting? So we're all live?
You're going to vote on the machine.
You guys are going all high tech on me. System's going so high tech on me.
Did you open online voting? Open it again? Oh, yes.
There it is.
Your online voting should be opening on your screen. And there, as you know, there is a bit of a delay on the screen above. We can cast your vote.
Come on.
Al, if you'd like, you can cast his vote.
Do that for me.
Would you like to, how would you like to vote?
Oh, yes.
And the final resolution is voted on. So there's a bit of a time delay.
The motion carries, it was unanimous. Thank you all for your support. It's been a long road to get here. This will conclude the last piece of our decision to take 3 meetings. I want to again thank you so much for this evening. And this will be broadcast at some point in time in the not too distant future. I believe the first one is out.
It is.
And the second one was the morning meeting breakfast, which we should be going live very shortly, I hope. And this one will follow. I'm sure we're going to have to do a little voice work here. But thank you so much again. I appreciate your efforts.